Hello, my name is Angel Salaveras, and I would like to welcome you to the program, Making a Connection in Lancaster. Today we have a special guest. Nilsa Vasquez is the host of Straight Talk with Nilsa on this channel, and she is also a fine prevention specialist and an educator for our Nuestra Clínica office. Welcome to the program, Nilsa. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Angel.
Nilsa, I wanted to ask you on the program because I have, some important issues to talk about, health issues and so forth. And being that you are the expert in this area, I wanted to find out a little bit more about some of these things that we're going to talk about today. So tell me a little bit about the scope of your job description and what you do at Nuestra Clínica.
Well, as you had stated earlier, I am the prevention specialist at SACA Nuestra Clínica, which we're located at 445 East King Street, and we provide free and confidential testing for HIV, syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea is all free and confidential. You do have to be over the age of 14 to come and get the test. I serve Lancaster, the community of Lancaster, as well as Lancaster County, such as high schools, college, technical schools, VOTEC, drug and alcohol facilities, and residential homes. For the residential homes, it's called Coffee Chat, where we go in the evening hours and provide educational classes or chats on prevention of STDs.
Okay, well, great. Well, it's great to have you here. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was obviously STDs, HIV, and abstinence, a big part of this. Okay, there's many young people that think nothing bad is ever going to happen to them. But the reality is that young people who are sexually active are putting themselves at risk of catching an STD. In fact, isn't it a fact that 25% of new STD cases are people under 20 years old?
Yes, it is a fact. The younger generations are taking a lot of more risks, meaning that they're having unprotected sex. And unprotected sex could be through vaginal or oral or anal sex. And just because you're not having vaginal sex and you have oral sex, it does not mean that it's not a sexual encounter. A lot of youth, when I go out to the high school, believes that oral sex is not a sexual encounter when it is. You can actually contract STDs in your mouth as well.
Okay, and that's one of the questions that I had because some people don't realize that touching someone's genitals and even kissing can spread an STD. Correct?
It can. As simple as a paper cut or even biting your nails is an actual access for an STD to enter. So let's say if you're using your fingers for a sexual encounter, you can contract an STD through using your fingers for a sexual encounter. Okay.
And I know a study that I was looking at was saying that there's plenty of virgins out there who have who are sexually involved, but no penetration, are themselves at risk for STDs, correct?
Correct. As I had stated earlier, it doesn't have to take any penetration for you to contract an STD. Once again, as we had said, oral sex is a sexual encounter that's using your mouth for a sexual act, as well as using your fingers for a sexual act. You can still be a virgin, but it's still considered sexual encounters.
Okay, and you know what they say, that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Is it a fact that STDs are spread by exchange of body fluids?
STDs are spread through bodily fluids such as vaginal secretion, male semen, and also blood to blood.
Okay, and also infected skin, if I'm correct. You can catch an STD from infected skin.
You may. When you have a sexual encounter with someone, and let's say even if you have a condom on, from your body's rubbing, you can actually contract an STD such as syphilis, genital warts, or herpes.
Okay. I had one of my kids in one of my groups asking me if they were holding hands, is it possible to catch an STD from them holding hands?
I'm sorry. No, you cannot contract it through holding hands.
No?
That's a casual contact.
Okay.
No.
Okay, and the scary thing is that usually you can't tell who has an STD and who does, correct?
Correct. An STD does not have a face. It doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what race you are, or what culture you come from. An STD, someone can have an STD and you not even know that the person has it or that you yourself have it, unless if you get tested. Okay,
that was what I was going to ask you next. The only way to really know if somebody has an STD or even HIV is to get tested by a professional, medical professional.
Correct.
Okay. You know, there's some people who think that they're being careful and safe by using condoms. Okay, but the truth is that some STDs like herpes and genital warts and syphilis can be transmitted even if a person is using a condom.
Yes. Skin-to-skin contact from your skins rubbing together, you can actually contract it in those manners.
Okay. And to further clarify that, you have a condom, but condoms only cover so much of an area, correct?
Correct. Condom only protects you 98% of the time.
Okay. So how can this happen if you took the necessary precautions of using a condom and so forth? Most experts say that the best way to protect yourself from STDs is to abstain from having sex.
Correct. Abstaining is a 100% safer way to go. That means oral sex, anal sex, or vaginal sex is abstaining from sex in whole. And also, you know, when you are wearing protections such as condoms, there is a proper way on how to use a condom. Okay. A condom, you just don't take it out the wrapper and put it on. A condom, you always got to look for the expiration date, as well as you got to look for damages on the packet. And then when you check those steps, and then what you do, you open up the condom, and then there's a reservoir tip. That reservoir tip, you hold that reservoir tip, bring it down to the erected penis, and that's the proper way on how to use it. Make sure that there's no air at that reservoir tip, because if there is air there, once the male ejaculates, what happens is you can actually contract an STD because the condom can break.
Okay. Well, you know, this is great information. I hope the folks out there today have a pencil and paper, because they're going to be hearing all kinds of great information that it's good to know. But once a person becomes sexually active, it's a lot easier said than done for the experts to say just abstain from having sex. Isn't that true?
Yes. Usually when I go out to the locations to present, you hear a lot of the individuals in my audience stating, you know, it's easier said than done, but, you know, I don't think it really happens.
Yeah. I know that the recommendation is to wait for a lifetime commitment or for that special person that you're going to marry and so forth. But really, how realistic is that? Well,
that's what we would, you know, recommend for individuals. But then again, it's up to the individual's choice. What I actually recommend is, if you are sexually active, just be in a monogamous relationship, not being in a promiscuous relationship, meaning having more than one sexual partner, as well as getting that person tested and yourself tested, and then from there take the steps that you would like to take, just to make sure that that person is free of STDs and that you yourself is free of STDs. And another thing that I would like to point out, Angel, is that it's not only 4 STDs that are out there. There's lots of STDs. We do provide, once again, the testing for chlamydia, gonorrhea, HIV, and syphilis, but there is more out there.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to get into it because I have them all here. So delaying having sex, younger people can get STDs more easily if they start having sex at an earlier age. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I do want to point out that 19 million new sexually transmitted infections occur each year, almost half of them among young people ages 13 to 24.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out that 10,000 teens are infected by STIs per day and that means every 8 seconds, a teen is being told that they are positive with an STD or STI, which is the same thing. One is, you know, sexually transmitted disease or sexually transmitted infection, but they're the same exact thing. I also want to point out also that although youth are at higher risk for acquiring STIs, 1/3 of those sexually active teens ages 15 to 17 and half of sexually active young adults ages 18 to 24 say they have been tested for STDs.
Okay, well, you know, it's great to hear that people are actually getting tested and whatnot. And we're going to cover that a little later, too, because I think, I don't know how easy that conversation is when you meet somebody and, you know, how does that conversation go? I want you to go get tested, make sure you're okay before we start getting involved. But I'm sure you've heard all kinds of ways to get those people to the clinic. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Penetration is not needed to pass some diseases like herpes and hepatitis. Is that correct?
Correct. Penetration doesn't have to occur for you to contract an STD. Okay. Actually, with pre-ejaculation, if it lands around your genital areas, you can actually contract an STD. So penetration does not have to take its course for you to contract an STD. Okay.
And we're going to get into also the alcohol and drugs, how that affects a person's decision making. People say, well, how does alcohol and drugs you know, contract STDs? Well, it really doesn't, but it's the person who is using those substances and not making smart choices, and that's where all that comes into play.
Correct.
So the bottom line is, for our young people, is to stay sober and make smart choices. Another way to contract some of these other STDs and HIV and so forth is needles, still, and syringes, correct?
Correct. Utilizing intravenous drug use, meaning that you're injecting drugs with a needle, and then what happens is if you share that needle, you not only contract HIV, but you can also contract hepatitis C. And it doesn't have to be just for street drugs. It can also be sharing needles for steroids as well.
Yeah. And also the new thing now, you know, everybody's into tattoos and body piercing and so forth. What kind of dangers does that type of activity bring to the show here?
Well, Angel, that's a good question, and I'm glad that you did bring this up. For tattooing and body piercing, people don't understand that you can actually contract hepatitis C through those kind of acts and choices that we make in our lives. I actually recommend individuals to go to a professional to get a tattoo or body piercings. I know that a lot of individuals go to people's homes or tattoo parties, so on and so forth. But the most important thing is to go to a professional to get them done and make sure that they're opening up that needle that they're using in front of you, as well as that they're pouring new ink. Because hepatitis C stays alive outside the body 16 hours, no more than 4 days. Okay. Where HIV stays alive outside of the body a minute to a minute and a half.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. One of the other things I wanted to ask you was the body piercing jewelry. Okay, sharing that jewelry with other people, is that recommended?
Oh, I would never recommend sharing any types of jewelry with anyone else, especially. You don't know if that person just got that piercing and there might be blood in that, you know, the part of the earring, and then the post, and then what happens is you can actually contract whatever that individual may have. So no, I don't recommend to use any type of body piercings, such as earrings or belly rings or eye ring or anything like that.
Tongue rings.
Or tongue rings, oh yes.
Because you know how young people are, they like to share their things and so forth.
Correct.
And even bathing suits, you know, shouldn't be shared, correct? And underwear and so forth.
Oh, never that. That's one of the things that I do talk about in my presentations to my audience, that I do address to them, that you don't want to share any of your underwear or bathing suits or anything like that, because one, you don't know what that individual that you're borrowing those type of items that what they may have. Okay,
Right.
because crabs can actually pubic lice can actually abstain in those items.
Absolutely. What type of person should be getting tested?
Well, I don't think it's what type of person.
Okay.
I really believe that if you're sexually active and you know that you took a risky behavior, I would recommend for you to get tested. You know, because you really don't know what someone can have.
Okay. So you're suggesting after they have taken some kind of risky behavior, or if they're involved with somebody and they think that it might go to the next level, let's say, should they be asking that person to get tested before they go to the next level with them?
Yes, I would. That's another thing that I love to talk about in my presentations is get to know your partner,
Right.
get them tested before having any sexual encounter with them. So that way you can know what their status is and you can know what your status is as well.
Okay. Another question that I had along these lines is how often is it recommended for young women to have Pap tests done?
Yearly.
Yearly.
Yearly. And it depends, once again, on how sexually they are active. But I recommend for every woman to get their Pap smears yearly.
Okay. Now, common STDs, there's a whole list of them. Okay. And you guys deal with chlamydia and gonorrhea. Many young people have these very common diseases and they don't even know it.
Correct.
Have you had that experience where you've had people come in to get tested and stuff and found that they were positive and they had no idea, no clue?
Yes, we've actually had many individuals that come into our clinic to get tested and have no symptoms, and then when the results come in, we have to, you know, inform them that they are positive to either chlamydia or gonorrhea.
Okay, so one of the things for girls, one of the experiences that they have is when they have these two diseases is vaginal discharge. Is that correct?
Yes.
And pain and during sex.
Yes.
And,
burning while urinating,
okay.
or like their menstruals, or like spotting
okay.
in between their periods.
And they also get pain in the lower belly.
Yes, abdominal pains as well.
Okay. And what about the men, the boys? What kind
Burning
of symptoms?
during urination, they'll get the discharges as well, and also a possibility of the abdominal pain.
Okay. And how about the genital herpes? I think there's sores and lesions involved with this one, right?
Yes, and I do want to point out that there is bacterial STDs and there is viral STD. Bacterial STD meaning that there is treatment and there's a cure, such as chlamydia and gonorrhea.
Okay.
And there is a viral STD such as HIV and herpes, meaning that there is treatment but there is no cure for them.
Okay.
And to answer your question about herpes, the lesions, the lesions could be actually, could come and go. Okay. Once again, there is treatments, but you'll always have herpes.
And are they always visible?
Not all the time.
Okay.
Not all the time.
So you can have them but not be
and
able
not
to
even
see
know
them.
that you have them. And you can actually pass it on to someone else with not even having any symptoms.
Okay, very good. And genital warts, that's one that comes up pretty common in some of my groups. What can you tell us about genital?
With genital warts, such as with contracting it as well, you can get it from your body, from skin to skin rubbing. You can also get it from open doors on your fingers, or depending on what parts of your body you use for a sexual encounter. With genital warts, there is treatment for it, but they can get very severe if you don't get treated on time.
And you can contract that just by touching somebody's genital area, correct?
Only if there's open doors.
Yeah, okay. Another thing to keep in mind is that this virus causes genital warts can lead to cervical cancer.
Cervical cancer, correct. Okay. If a woman has genital warts for a certain period of time, it could turn into, it could become cervical cancer. Okay. So that's why it's very intense for women to actually get their yearly Pap smears, so that way the doctor could see any, if it's abnormal or if it's normal, so on and so forth.
Okay. Hepatitis A, B, and C is a little confusing because of the A, B, and C. Can you tell us the difference between the three?
Well, I know with C, you can contract it blood-to-blood contact.
Okay.
A, feces, and also B, you could get it through feces, and also through like food, you can get it as well.
And some of the signs for hepatitis are, from what I understand, is tiredness.
Tiredness, correct.
Poor appetite.
Poor appetite, jaundice.
Jaundice, like when your skin turns yellow,
yes,
or your eyes.
and even your eyes,
yeah.
the white of your eyes.
Okay. Very good. And this is the one you talked about, the crabs. Crabs is really, the name for that is...
pubic lice.
Pubic lice, okay. And tell us what that is, so for the people that
That actually is like a small insect that actually it's in the body, that you get it through sexual encounters. So let's say crabs could be placed on the towel, it could be on the bed, it could be on someone's underwears, not knowing who has it, and then you go, let's say, and have sexual encounter with someone who has crabs, and it's on their bed, you can actually contract it.
Okay, yeah, and that's why we said about sharing bathing suits and underwear, towels, and that kind of thing. Now, syphilis is one that really has been around for a long time.
Correct.
Okay, what can you tell us about the syphilis?
Well,
STD?
With syphilis, the sores could be painful, and it could appear within a few weeks to a month to 2 months. You may have it and not even know that you have it until you get tested. Once again, the only way that you're going to know that you have any of these STDs is if you get tested for them.
Okay. Now, before I forget to ask you this, is there one test that you do that can show all of them, or do you have to do a different test for each one, or?
Well, we test for HIV and syphilis. We draw blood, and then for, excuse me, for chlamydia and gonorrhea is urine. Okay.
And with the syphilis, if it's untreated, my understanding is that it can damage brain, heart, and your spinal cord and your bones.
Correct. You can actually die from syphilis.
You can actually die from it. Okay. One that caught my attention is, I can't even say this thing.
Trichomoniasis?
Yes, trichomoniasis. Women show a heavy yellow-green, bad smelling discharge. How do you contract this one?
You get it as well from having unprotected sex.
Okay, all right.
Now, we don't test for trichomoniasis at our clinic.
Okay.
We actually refer the individuals out.
Now, this is on the list of common STDs. Is it really that common?
Yes,
it really
is.
Okay, all right. You know, the problem, anyone who has sex or sexual contact is at risk, and getting sexual transmitted diseases is a very serious thing. Teenagers are a higher risk because a lot of them are very active, and a lot of them are not monogamous per se. But of the 12 million who get STDs each year, around 3 million of them, they say, are teenagers.
Teenagers, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's scary. I mean, if you're thinking about having sex or sexual contact, some of the facts about STD signs or symptoms are, you know, a person might have an STD and not know it because STDs show no signs or symptoms. Some of them do, some of them don't. Anyone who has sexual contact is at risk for getting an STD. And it could be a one-sided thing. I mean, if there's such a thing when you're having sexual contact with somebody, even though you're not maybe doing anything, but they're doing it to you, you could still catch it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And also I want to apply to the list of things that you just pointed out, that the more sexual encounters that you have, the more higher risk that you put yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely. And those people that are very active, I think, you would think would be some of the first people that would be getting tested for some of these things. Also, you need to pay attention to your partner's reputation, you know, because a lot of times we get involved with people and they have a reputation of, you know, getting around and so forth. I know at one of the schools that I had a group in, there was a young man who was having a relationship with 3 other girls in the same school, all 3 pregnant and stuff. And I asked the girls, I said, you know, when you guys are having relationships and stuff, are you practicing safe sex? And of course they all say, yes, of course we are. Okay, so if that's the case, then how did you get pregnant, you know?
Correct.
So
yes.
It's interesting. But Nilsa, your clinic is located, tell us where your clinic is located, some of the hours that you are of operations and so forth.
Okay, our clinic is located at 445 East King Street in the downtown area of Lancaster. After July 21st, we are actually going to be located at 453 South Lime Street here in Lancaster. Our phone number is 717-295-7994. Once again, it's 717-295-7994.
Yeah, so it's important that you write that number down. If you have questions, don't hesitate to call Nilsa or myself. I'd like to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me, Angel.
It was really educational for me, and I'm sure for some of our viewers. I'd like to thank our viewers for watching because, you know, without you and without your participations, our shows would be, the success of our shows would be very limited. So stay tuned for some more interesting topics in the weeks ahead. Thank you and have a great day.